On this trip, I'll be traveling over 2,250 miles from Colorado to the Pacific Ocean and back, stopping at 4 national parks, 1 national monument, several rock shops, and even more vintage stores along the way. These are my field notes from my Western road trip of 2021. From rainy Palm Springs, I got on the highway and drove into Los Angeles. Well, Pasadena to be precise. I should note here I used to live in Burbank when I was an 18-year-old college freshman, and as high as my hopes were then, my lasting memories of LA are not the best. I do come back every once in a while to try and give the place another go, but this trip didn't exactly help. That first night I had booked reservations at Yamashiro, a Japanese restaurant atop Hollywood with great views. A truly historic building now cluttered with modern restaurant American cheesiness. This place stands in for Japan in several films and also features in some of my fiction work, so I wanted to stop by. A fun fact about me, now that we're out here in the evening in LA, is that I'm not very fun. I don't like loud bars, I do not dance, I also do not enjoy small talk with strange men, and 9 times out of 10 I would rather be at the museum or at home. So the next day, when a brunch with people I have little in common with, friends of my friend, went on from bar to bar from 11 a.m. to 9:30 p.m., by hour 3 I was ready to dive into the Pacific and swim to freedom if it meant I could be free of such purgatory. I walked away from the loud pounding music and strangers for a moment out onto this beach, and all I could think of was that my fellow homebody pal, my tiny cat Cleo, was dying back home while I was stuck at a bar I hated in Venice Beach. This is the sad part, and this is my cat Cleo. She had been with me since I was 13, and for the last 10 years, she has been my shadow. She would wait all day to sit on my lap like this and watch a movie or whatever each night. She was my cat, and I was her person. She was 16 this past year, and had always been very healthy. The minute I made my vaccination appointments, I started planning this trip. In May, I started booking hotels. In late July, I took my Cleo for an ultrasound and found out that her bladder was more tumor than organ anymore. It wasn't a simple infection, a UTI, a antibiotic could clear up. She wasn't fine. She was fading.
Bean. Hello, my love. What are you doing, my lovey? What are you doing, my lovey?
On Sunday morning, I called my mom from a Starbucks parking lot outside of the Burbank airport after dropping off my friend, and she told me my Cleo had passed away a half hour earlier. I wasn't with her, and it destroyed me then, and it shatters me now. My mom was with her all night long and all the while, but I should have been. I should have been with my littlest and loyalest of friends.
Little miss. I'm gonna miss you, Missy. You better be good. Stay good while I'm gone. I'll come right back to you, my baby. Hi, cutie. I love you.
So on Sunday, I ugly cried in a Starbucks parking lot in Burbank, and phantom-like tried to stick to my plan. Because there was nothing I could do that wouldn't hurt, so I might as well still go shopping in Hollywood since that had been the plan. Empty and puffy-eyed, I arrived on Magnolia Boulevard in Burbank, where all of the vintage shops are, and discovered that there are also Halloween-themed stores too, a pleasantly ghoulish surprise on such a dark day. lunch at Tacos Tu Madre on Vermont Avenue. One of my characters in my fiction work works at a fictional cafe at Vermont in Melbourne. I picked up several things at Star Day Vintage a few blocks down on Hollywood Boulevard and highly recommend that shop. Then I bought some shoes at Remix, but no amount of vintage can fill a cat-sized hole in one's heart. So I gave up, went back to my hotel, and cried for several more hours alone in the Hyatt in Pasadena. As you do. Naturally. Fully on my own again and finally feeling a bit lonely, on Monday I went to visit Huntington Gardens. It was a grey day to match my grief, but quite miraculously this place was so movingly beautiful it struck me stunned regardless. The Huntington Library, Art Museum, and Botanical Gardens were established by railroad heir and owner Henry E. Huntington and his second wife Arabella Huntington. In addition to the large collection of European art, which was off view during my visit, and the extensive and important library collections, the Botanical Gardens cover 120 acres. The Rose Garden was certainly the largest I have ever visited and smelled divine, with over 4,000 individual plants, the beauty of which I cannot capture on camera, which was true of each of the gardens I wandered through this day. I certainly did not see it all, despite spending an entire day at the gardens. I managed to explore the conservatory with its otherworldly orchids, the Chinese garden, the largest such garden outside of China, and the Japanese gardens, and then a bit of a wander of the cactus garden, which, again, is one of the largest of such gardens in the world. I cannot recommend visiting this place enough. If you are within an hour of here, run, don't walk. Seriously, one of the most beautiful places I have ever been, and the European Gallery wasn't even open. I didn't even make it to the library, and I'm still saying that. I plan on going back for a more thorough and less stunted by sadness visit as soon as I can. I then took myself to dinner out near Santa Monica Pier, because if I stopped going, I had to think about Cleo. But the spaghetti I ordered wasn't very good, and the truth was gnawing my solitude, so I drove back to my hotel rather relieved I'd be leaving the Los Angeles area the next day. Better luck next time, LA. I'm sure we'll have a less tumultuous time someday. Thanks for sticking with me. It's the road back next time, and full of more parks, more vintage, and more great western landscapes, and more fun. I promise.